Good morning. It's Saturday, January 4th, and this is your Saturday Wrap. I'm Barbara Boyd. Well, we here at Promethean Pack and Promethean Action have constantly talked about fundamental change toward increasing perfection being the character of God's universe as we experience it. Prometheus, after all, gifted humans with fire and foresight, and that changed absolutely everything about human existence. And this week was an exemplar of just that type of change, which typically is very, very bumpy and turbulent. When we come through to the other side, that is, if we act and execute Donald Trump's electoral mandate, it will probably see comparatively calm, but very much changed in every single aspect, as if a sudden hand had intervened and reordered everything in a completely new way. My friend Bruce Director put it best when he talked about the fact that the most fundamental characteristic of this moment is a confrontation between the oligarchy, whose system is dying, and something which is struggling to be born, which was voted on by the American population on November 5th. They can't change. Terrorism is a characteristic response they have in their toolkit, and they are lashing out. So with that in mind, let's take a look at the week's news and all that has happened. On New Year's Day, we had two violent incidents: a resurgence of ISIS in New Orleans, which killed 16 and otherwise critically maimed a late-night crowd of revelers composed mostly of the young. At the same time, in Las Vegas, a Green Beret Special Forces warrior blew himself up in a Musk Cybertruck in front of the Trump International Hotel. According to the news, he left a series of suicide notes, apparently detailing his understanding of the recent drone sightings in New Jersey and war crimes he witnessed in Afghanistan. So far, the FBI is shielding us from his messages, although the exposure of what he thought is his apparent reason for taking his own life. We have cautioned that incidents like this are historically psyops. They're aimed at disrupting and poisoning your thinking. Such other operations will surely follow until they are forcibly stopped. You can't leap to conclusions about an evidentiary trail left for you as part of the psyop itself. But you can act on the one conclusion that matters. The FBI and our intelligence community are still under enemy control. The national security demands at this point of extreme turbulence left to us by the administration imposed on us in 2020 that Donald Trump's national security team be confirmed in the Senate right now at an urgent, accelerated rate. We are mobilizing to accomplish just that, although you can expect a major fight on this necessity from old guard senators who are still controlled by the old regime. Please go over to Promethean Pack and sign the petition and circulate it to others, and we will deliver it to the appropriate committees in the Senate as the signatures reach an appropriate mass. Much of the resistance by the regime's senators is quiet now, as they learned early on by making their resistance known that they would face a massive mobilization from Trump's base and very, very unpleasant fundraising numbers. But it's there, and whether or not it manifests itself depends very much on how forcefully we demand confirmation based on the urgent reality we now face. There lurks, at least in my mind, the constant threat of another assassination threat upon Trump or J.D. Vance or Elon Musk, because the very people nominally charged by the government from preventing that either failed in the last go-around or were up to their necks in the plot. We need to change this and change it now. Now, in addition to terrorism, the regime is doing everything possible to rain on Trump's inauguration on January 20th. It's like a bunch of captive monkeys throwing poop. Judge Juan Merchan issued a decision late Friday saying he will sentence Trump for the bogus New York bookkeeping felony rigged jury verdict. He will sentence him on January 10th. This will give the convicted felon idea, the convicted felon headline, a large bit of play ahead of Trump assuming office. And the only potentially good thing you can say about this is that it creates a final decision from this crooked judge and allows thereby a clean appeal to a higher court. Additionally, for the inauguration itself, which should, as an event, be produced with maximum optimism for the people, flags will be at half-staff for Jimmy Carter, who died on December 29th and whose funeral celebration will long be over. Now, in addition, those running the senile puppet, Joe Biden, have dictated a list of people to receive the nation's second highest honors. And it reads like an enemies list of those who hate the American people and who have acted both wittingly and unwittingly to almost destroy this nation. It is led by the British agent and bagman, George Soros. It includes Hillary Clinton and Anna Wintour, the British-sponsored witch who runs Vogue magazine and has done so much to inspire the modern form of cat lady, childless witchcraft parading under the banner of feminism. This is a follow-up to Liz Cheney's time in the award spotlight for January 6th, which also occurred as an insult this week. In a feral dig at RFK Jr., Biden is also honoring his father posthumously. RFK Sr. died by an assassin's bullet while opposing everything that Joe Biden's puppet masters stand for. Mike Johnson secured the House speakership also this week, with President-elect Trump having to intervene to quell the budget hawks. There is nothing wrong with cutting wasteful government spending. There's a lot of it. It needs to be done. But the far bigger challenge, one the Freedom Caucus is yet to grasp, is how to grow this economy, which President Trump keeps emphasizing is the key to solving our debt crisis. That requires a different mindset than that being displayed among even the best of the current members of the House of Representatives and the Senate. We're doing a class tonight addressing exactly the type of thinking which is necessary, the mindset outlined for study in the works of Gerhard Riemann and Gottfried Leibniz, a line of thinking which led directly to the American system of political economy driving Donald Trump's agenda. Finally, and perhaps most dramatically, we have the wars against Russia being fought by Biden's puppet masters and the British in Ukraine, the spiraling destabilization of the Middle East and Syria, and the continuing collapse of European economies like Germany, rapidly descending now into complete ungovernability if the People's Choice, the AfD, is not allowed to assume office. Their collapse is based on what happens with a full embrace of the types of policies our regime here has sponsored over the last 4 years. The globalist policies, green energy, censorship of thought, increasingly imperial war economies. This morning, Biden's puppet masters launched more American and British-directed missiles deep inside Russia, and Russia has now vowed a response. In Britain right now, people are being arrested for so-called hate speech and put in prison. Gang rapes of white girls by migrants are being covered up in the name of wokeness and civil liberties. In thinking about the demise of this horrendous regime, I am reminded of a very famous poem by Percy Shelley called Ozymandias. I'll try to read it here without butchering it, but I ask you to look it up and think about it yourself. Here's how it goes. I met a traveler from an antique land who said, "Two vast and trunkless legs of stone stand in the desert. Near them, on the sand, half sunk, a shattered visage lies, whose frown and wrinkled lip and sneer of cold command Tell that its sculptor well those passions read, which yet survive, stamped on these lifeless things, the hand that mocked them and the heart that fed. And on the pedestal, these words appear. My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair. Nothing beside remains round the decay of that colossal wreck. Boundless and bare, the lone and level sands stretch far away. That's what it seems to me it will be like for those who have tormented us in the present form of a regime since the fall of the wall in 1989. The torch is being passed. Are we ready to take it up? That's the subject of tonight's class with Bruce Director. Please tune in. I think it will invigorate you and give you hope and optimism as to how you chart the path to the future. I'll see you again on Monday with the update for the week.
Thanks for watching. Please take a moment and subscribe to our free newsletter at PrometheanAction.com.